This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm very, very happy today, absolutely delighted to be joined by none other than winemaker Roberto Echeverria, who's joining us all the way from Santiago. How are you today, sir?
Very well, thank you, Jamie. Here enjoying the beginning of the summer,
Of
but
course.
still keeping ourselves locked down a little bit at home.
Now, you said lockdown there. Is Chile still in a state of lockdown?
Oh, well, actually, it's been opening the
Okay.
lockdowns. I feel myself still locked down because you feel you carry on with the inertia, of the pandemic. And the only way to keep a little bit safer is to keep your own kind of lockdown conditions.
Now, you're in the city right now, but for those people who don't know, would you mind explaining the location of your winery and your vineyards?
Yeah, the winery is 200 kilometers south of Santiago, where it's the capital. The winery is exactly in parallel 35 south in the world scheme. So basically, we're in the wine region, the heartland, where the winery is. Since the pandemic started, I've been living in the winery all that time. It was 8 months. And now I came for a couple of home duties into the capital. So here we are right now.
Now, not everyone recognizes that where you have your vineyards, it's actually pretty cool climate. And I remember the last time I met you was at the I4C, the Cool Climate Chardonnay celebration. We did a little
Yes,
video. That would be last summer. Seems like such a
yes,
long time
exactly.
ago now, right? So
Yeah,
actually 2 summers past now.
yeah.
Um, uh, so for those people unfamiliar with your winery, what kind of wines are you making there?
Well, we've been since all these years that we've been producing wine, more than 50 years producing locally wine.
Hmm.
Since we started exporting in the end of 1990s, we have been adding different wines to our portfolio in a very traditional way. Today, we have very well recognized Pinot Noir, high-end Cabernet Sauvignons blended with other Bordeaux varieties, Chardonnay that come from the coastal region. Um, I would say that probably any varietal or French style variety that we have in Chile, we have been growing them. Some of them oaked, some of them more in a fruity varietal character. But that basically is because our customers around the world, the way of diversifying is asking us different blends, different wines, sometimes different regions. We love doing wine, so for us, making a new project or a new venture, it's what gives us a special identity and a great fun in this nice business.
Now, having known your wines for actually over 2 decades now, I've seen changes in your wines throughout the years. How would you say your winemaking style has evolved over decades?
Well, we've been probably, and maybe we started very, in the first 10 years, maybe 100% monovarietal, very straightforward with one variety in the label. That was kind of our first way to get into the markets. So the markets could know that Chile had this beautiful flavor varieties that were all very different. Probably the second decade, we started blending and we started venturing in regions that were different to what we were known in the beginning. So we went to extreme regions like Casablanca and the coast. Then we went a little bit more to the Andes foothills, with the Maipo Valley. Probably in the last 5 years, we went a little bit more extreme. And we, as you know, Thomas Batchelder, we started doing wines with Thomas in the very west side of the coast, very near to the coast, the Pacific Ocean. Is a vineyard that you can see clearly the ocean 10 kilometers in a distance. And we started also doing wines in the extreme south of Chile, which is a region called Malleco, which is very south, but also obviously just for Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, which are varieties that grow very, very well there. And I would say in the last 3 years, what's kind of new, it's all this low intervention and natural wines. So maybe you haven't tried them yet, but I hope you can try them soon. Some of them are going to come to special collection in the LCBO. And those are wines that totally are, that's definitely going back to basics. Wines without adding anything in the whole process, no enzymes, no yeast, no sulfites at any kind of processing. You can see the bottle is blurry because there's no stabilization, there's no filtering. So the wine is just as it came from the tank. And that's kind of a new area for us. We've found around the world a lot of interest in that niche of market. And because for wine for us is part of our day to day. Coming back to those wines is how wines were made in the beginning of the times, you know, where there was no technology, no equipment. Wine was done very naturally. So obviously we try to give the best in the control of the aromas and the flavor, and the wines are beautiful. So we're very proud of the result that we've been getting in this natural and low intervention wines. So that's kind of the new to come.
I haven't tasted those as of yet, but I'll try and get onto Lifford to try and get a few bottles to sample. I was going to mention that over the last decade, I've seen the wines that I have tasted here. I've found to be much more vibrant and fresher, but I guess that speaks to your vineyard sourcing now being in these cooler areas.
Yeah, and also as winemaking, we've been focusing in how customers want those wines. I think a lot of our customers want wine that are fresher, easy drinking, that they don't that have to hold them so long in a cellar, and white wines that can be fresh, drunk in summer, you know, and enjoyed, and maybe have a glass and then the second glass. So many of our wines are focused to have not too much oak at all, and some of them with maybe 6 months of aging. Sometimes is enough just to add complexity and balance the flavor in the case of a white wine like a Pinot Noir and a Chardonnay. And in the case of the reds, basically just to clean a little bit the tannins, but not to have that overloaded oak in a wine or a 3-year aged wine in the barrel, because at the end, customers want to enjoy sometimes less alcohol, less extraction, and they want to enjoy the wine as part of the daily basis.
So would it be fair to say that over the past two decades, you have reduced the amount of oak treatment that your wines see for the most part?
Yeah, totally. I mean, before maybe we did blends that were aged for 3 years, 4 years, or 8
I remember, yes.
Or 3 years. Today, probably the maximum is an age of 2 years for my super higher end icon wines, but that's like a little amount of all the wines we do. With all this natural wine trend and objective of winemaking, those wines are sold just a couple of months after they finish. So basically, they go to the market very quickly and very fast. So basically, the time I have the wine in the winery, the less, the better, because then you enjoy the wine very fruity as it's taken out of the tank. Of course, you can have wines that are aged, you know, and we have those wines for of course, because the market is huge, and we need to be able to give them a little bit of different things according to their needs.
Of course. Now, 2020 is a year that most of us will never forget, I'm sure. How was it for you with regards to your vintage? How did all of that transpire?
Yeah, well, it was, in our case, it arrived just kind of in the middle of the harvest.
You're talking about the pandemic arrived.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And the first cases, they came beginning of March. So basically everything was kind of, people were looking, was already clear what was happening in Europe. And maybe that allowed us to anticipate a little bit what could happen. So basically, when things started to happen in Chile, we started to fast and make it a fast harvest, meaning that we didn't want to have too many people or employees coming to cut the grapes and having to bring grapes from other regions, knowing that something could be suddenly locked down and closed. So basically, we had a very fast harvest in middle of March. We never finished our harvest so quickly, I have to say. I mean, we didn't harvest anything in April. Everything was harvested in March. So the result of that is probably we'll have very fresh wines,
Yeah, yeah.
very fresh. I mean, we know that for the whites. The whites are already kind of in the market. They got very fresh, very vibrant. Will be maybe a short harvest. The reds are all with not a lot of extraction from the grape. We didn't harvest as normally. Sometimes we leave them long in the vines. We didn't wait too long because we wanted to get the grapes quick inside.
So it will be a very different. Sorry, it will be a very different vintage with regards to those reds and the ripeness levels that they were picked at.
Yeah, I would expect exactly that the reds would have less ripeness. So the higher end reds that maybe would be in the market in 2 more years, or either we will skip that harvest because maybe we don't have the full and the richness.
Right. Yes.
Selection, very short selection of some batches or some barrels, and we'll have maybe an isolated blend for some markets, and we'll have to choose and pick and see what we do. But for that, still we will have time because it would always depend on this 2021 harvest. If that comes as a normal harvest, probably we'll extend there the time in the vines to be able to extract a little bit more, and maybe that harvest would be the one that will replace the 2021. But
how much of your wine goes into the export market?
100%.
100%. So you don't really sell domestically at all?
Very little. I mean, probably our focus is the export market in Chile, because there's so many Chilean wines in Chile. Obviously, it's harder maybe to go and find the niche. Chile is a market that doesn't have a per capita consumption so high.
Right.
So then a lot of offer, not so high per capita demand. So basically, it's harder to sell unless you really give it for free. So basically, our focus has been the export market for decades. Probably this year, a difficult year, we focus on trying to help the opportunities in the markets that were supporting our wine. As everybody, we were affected many months with very few or none orders from the world. But I guess because the world was in a different stage, when we were getting low with everything, the Asian markets, they started reordering because they were going back to normal.
Yes.
And they've been back to normal constantly, obviously with the lower levels, but they've been closed for the tourism. So basically, they have had to develop the local business. And just an example, Thailand, we're one of the higher, I would say, one of the best Chilean exports to Thailand, maybe number 3 or 2 from Chile. And even they dropped a lot the wines they were consuming and ordering. They changed the portfolio of wines they were ordering because they had to change to the customer. So they didn't have the same wines that they used to sell in hotels and resorts, but they were having new wines to sell to direct business of Thai people, because there were no.
Yes.
So I guess that the country or the imports company that adapted to the situation and found their way, I guess that they survived, and we were lucky to be with those customers that in a way found a way to readapt. All the European markets that were kind of blocked for a while, they reopened again. Now they're closing again. So I guess it's part of this adventure. We've had to adjust in the winery. We had to unfortunately let go some people, and we went also back to basics. As I was living in the winery, obviously I went back to be in the bottling line and the selection line, and many orders one week. We were all with my kids putting boxes, putting labels, and getting back a little bit to a smaller, more compact family business.
Yeah, I hear you. I hope that the Canadian Ontario market is still treating you well.
Yeah, treating well, thanks to these wines that we have in the market. Yeah.
I think we're going to taste through these. Why don't we taste this one? This is your your Gran Reserva Chardonnay.
Yes, let's start with the Chardonnay.
Yeah,
Well, this Chardonnay has been showing very well. It's just some couple of hundred cases in the market. It's not the first time that you have it here in the market, and every time that has been here, it has shown a very good reception from the Canadians. So there we have the Chardonnay.
Now, where is this this fruit sourced from? This comes from all over, does it not?
Well, this in the past we would get this one from Casablanca. In this case, we source and we source the blend and the fruit from the Curicó Valley. So basically, here we try to outstand the character that we have in our region, and it has a percentage of grapes that comes from other sources, like when we went those wines with Thomas from the very coastal, to get a little bit of the influence of the ocean, the salinity, the minerality, but mainly working the vineyards and the grapes where we are located in Curicó, we can get a lot of good complexity. I remember too much aging. I mean, the idea is that here we have a wine that is aged not more than 6 to 7 months, and a lot of percentage is used barrels. So basically, the barrique gives the wine some help to pronounce, to make it more enhance the aromas of the variety.
I remember tasting this wine many years ago, and it was quite a different wine because this had a lot more oak on it previously.
Yeah, in the past, probably driven by some markets, the more oak you had in a Chardonnay, it was supposed to be better. Today we've realized that a Chardonnay is a very elegant variety, and it needs the precise amount of oak, not too much to overpower, and maybe not too little to just be a varietal chard.
Now, I know that you enjoy your food. What would you pair a wine like this with?
Well, because of the mouthful character, a little bit of that malolactic creaminess, and because it's quite clean and not too much oak, for me, like white meat is perfect. Pasta, even pizza with basil and some light spice. It's something very versatile because it's an easy drinking Chardonnay. It doesn't have that heavy oak that can need something much more elaborated. So for me, it's a simple wine that requires simple food, not something too much in complexity.
But Chardonnay is a varietal, white varietal you've been doing since day one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of my dad's favorites, in fact. Right. So he was always focused on doing Chardonnay. One of the Chardonnays that we do a lot and has a name in many markets is the unwooded Chardonnay, like just a straightforward Chardonnay made traditionally, but without oak, a little bit of malolactic, but gives the wine some consistency.
Yep.
So what do you think?
What do I think? You're putting me on the spot here. I think it's interesting. I mean, I always love tasting wines and thinking back to tasting winemakers' previous vintages, and that was why I was having a real thrill tasting this and going back to, the memory of your Chardonnay at this level from 20 years ago, and just to think about that, that's a big step from there to here. I mean, there's a lot more finesse in this wine than there was in those wines you were making. I'm not saying they were bad wines, but they're just very different wines.
Yeah.
This one has a lot more finesse and elegance. The oak is certainly there for those kind of people who like that oak undercurrent, but it's very well integrated with the fruit. The fruit is lovely and ripe, but it has the nose is quite beautiful. Just that whiff of oak. It's good. Now, Pinot Noir is a relatively recent exploration for you, is it not?
Yeah. Well, probably Pinot Noir is one of the last of the traditional French varieties that we started kind of producing. We did start, probably 10 years ago, so it's not recently, but in the beginning we started with a few tons of Pinot Noir from Casablanca. We've always stuck to Casablanca as a style, as an origin for our Pinot Noir. Also beside the Pinot Noir that we did with Thomas in the coastal region. But in this case, what we're looking for something that keeps the elegance and has a little bit more of a French style character. Pinot Noir.
Two bottles. Lovely. Yeah. So this is the Gran Reserva 2018.
No, this is Casablanca region. So it's coastal, but not so coastal like you can see the ocean. It's one of the renowned coastal regions of Chile for crafting Pinot Noir. It has the influence of the Pacific Ocean, the good soil to create nice plants, but the weather condition, the Mediterranean climate, allows the wine to be very clean, very healthy harvest. And obviously during the fermentation is a very important part of the job, because to get the nice color and to extract all the aromas has to be a very delicate crushing and fermentation. And then after that, obviously the aging in the barrel is also very delicate. Here we use basically used barrels, all French, and that your used barrel is what gives a little bit of the spice of the wine. The wine has some nice spice. Yesterday they were saying a little bit of dill in the nose.
Yes, I can see that. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a spicy Pinot Noir, but elegant. The color is light. It's not a very extracted Pinot Noir. It's something you might get, and also doesn't have too much oak. Here, not more than 6 or 7 months in average of these used barrels. So basically the oak is there, but it's not predominating at all. Yeah, this one has done very well. I'm very proud of this harvest, 2018. In the LCBO vintages, the Pinot Noirs be taken like for 2 or 3 years in a row, consistently. And as you know, the result in the LCBO pattern has been doing very well. So we're very happy to support its performance.